Good day, good people. Welcome back to my channel. Dr. Amber here, wanting to dive deeper into this series and talking about conflict. More specifically, conflict is normal, but why is it so hard? In the previous video, I talked a little bit about the nature of conflict and discussed how it's natural, it's beneficial, we should expect it, and it's not so much that we don't agree with people that is the issue, it's how we handle those disagreements that is key. In this video, I just want to talk a little bit more about the nature of conflict being hard and what some of our challenges are about that. And hopefully I'll be able to round out the series and going over our 5 conflict styles. So stay tuned to the next video if you are interested in learning what your specific conflict style is. And hopefully you'll walk away with some tips and tricks on how to be more effective with handling conflict. So here are some reasons why conflict is so hard. Okay, 75%, according to the American Psychological Association, 75% of people feel stressed or anxious about engaging in difficult conversations. That's a lot of people. 75% have stress or anxiety in thinking about handling or engaging in difficult conversations. And my thought on that is, what I feel the challenge is that we just don't know how to say the hard thing. So we're stressed out about it. We're in our heads a lot. We're creating scenarios in our minds about what happened. We're replaying the tape in our brain of the argument or the disagreement or how we feel about the thing. And we're telling ourselves these stories before we ever really get the chance to talk to the other person about what the issue is. And so I think that stress and that anxiety really challenges us in being able to feel confident about our ability to handle conflict responsibly and maturely. And I think that this is also a reflection of poor emotion management. We don't have the extensive vocabularies to name what our emotions are. There's this saying that anger is hurt's bodyguard. Anger is hurt's bodyguard. If I'm mad at you and I'm angry and I'm popping off and I'm going off and all of this, I might even be justified and validated in those feelings. But what's underneath the surface really? There's an emotion there. And a lot of times that's hurt, it's sadness, it's disappointment. And it's much easier in some respects to pop off and go off and yell and argue than it is to say, ouch, that really hurt my feelings just now, what you said, or when you didn't show up for our date, or you ghosted me, or whatever the case is. That hurt my feelings. That requires a level of vulnerability that most people are not trying to deal with. So I would rather give you all this stuff above ground instead of really getting to the heart of the matter below ground, meaning deeper inside internally. So the more willing you are to be vulnerable, the more willing you are to tell yourself what the whole truth is, the better you'll be at being able to handle conflict, because then you'll know how to actually approach it. You're using your skills and your emotional vocabulary to tell people what's up. So then that way you can deal with what the issue is really and not have to deal with all of the theatrics. Because have you ever been in that type of scenario where you get into an argument with somebody and then after a while the fight becomes about the fight and not about the issue itself? Now it's like, well, you said this and I said this, and no, what you said was, and now we're going back and forth of just about the dramatics of the argument. We're not actually addressing the issue. These are the things that contribute to our inability to handle conflict effectively. And I want to encourage you, the next time you have to have a difficult conversation with someone, stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling really? What is the issue really? And that really will be that extra tiny piece of rope that pulls you closer to that place of vulnerability and being honest about how you're really feeling. As a speaker, I tell this story often. So if you're watching this video and you've ever heard me speak out in the wild at a company or organization, and I'm talking about communication skills, you probably have heard me discuss this. And I'll give you the condensed version here, but where I learned how all of this stuff played out for me, even as a communication expert, is with my partnership, or in my partnership with my husband. Sometimes, we'll say things like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine, when we know that we're not. We will pretend and tell that lie, honey, okay? When it's really like, what is the issue really? And one time, he did something that really upset me and it bothered me, but on the surface it seemed really trivial. He'd eaten something that I had planned to eat myself, that I had started eating, and then he finished it. And I was so mad. I was so mad. Like, why would you do this? I thought it was so rude and inconsiderate. And I had to stop and ask myself, my personal filter is Amber. Is this a big deal? And that's something that I'm going to offer to you. When you feel riled up and you feel like you about to let the chopper sing, stop and ask yourself, what am I feeling really? Or is this a big deal? And so if I feel like it is a big deal, then now I am compelled, like I have to say something. My spirit will not rest until I bring it up. And so on the surface, again, it seemed like, oh, he just ate my snack or whatever. But below that, it felt like, you don't consider me. You're not being respectful. When you do this thing, it makes me feel like you don't care about the things that belong to me in this house. And I don't like how that makes me feel. That's way different than you only think about yourself. You see the difference? So take some time. The next time you have a difficult conversation, reflect, ask yourself, what's bothering me really? Answer that question for yourself first, and then go talk to the other person. Hopefully that was helpful. In the next video in this series, we're going to talk about the 5 conflict styles. So if you don't know what your conflict style is, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss that video when it drops. So I can give you all the little tips and tricks that you need in order to handle conflict effectively in your relationships, both personally and professionally. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.